The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called without warning. Representatives from over 800 species filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a buzz of confusion and concern. Nobody knew why the humans had requested such an urgent meeting. Ambassador Sarah Chun walked to the center of the circular floor. She was a small woman by human standards, wearing the simple gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. The chamber fell silent as she reached the speaker's platform. "Members of the council," she began, her voice steady and clear. "I am here to inform you of a situation that humanity has been managing for the past 30 years. We have been at war." The chamber erupted. Voices from 100 different species demanded answers. The council speaker, a tall Varani with silver skin, raised his 4 arms for silence. "Ambassador Chun, the council has no record of any declared war involving humanity. Explain yourself." Sarah activated her datapad. A holographic star map appeared above her, showing the outer rim territories far from council space. Red markers dotted dozens of systems. 30 years ago, we encountered a species we call the wrecked swarm. They are a collective intelligence that consumes everything in its path. They don't negotiate. They don't communicate. They destroy and absorb. When we found them, they were moving toward populated space. Your space. She pressed another button. Images filled the air above the council. Massive insectoid creatures that seemed to flow like liquid. Ships that looked grown rather than built. Worlds stripped bare of all life, leaving only gray dust. We established a quarantine line. We've held it for 3 decades. The cost has been significant. New images appeared. Human soldiers in battered armor. Medical ships crowded with wounded. Memorial walls stretching for kilometers, covered in names. A counter in the corner showed casualties. 347 million humans dead. The council chamber was completely silent now. "Why didn't you tell us?" asked the Calfin representative, her whiskers twitching with emotion. "Why fight alone?" "Because we knew what war with the Wrecked would mean," Sarah replied. "Total war. Extinction-level conflict. We chose to keep it contained, to fight quietly, to prevent galaxy-wide panic. We established protocols, rules of engagement. We treated wrecked prisoners according to our Geneva Conventions, even though they had no concept of surrender. We evacuated refugee populations from contested worlds, including 15 species whose colonies were in the path of wrecked expansion." She showed more footage. Human soldiers carrying alien children to safety. Human doctors treating wounded wrecked captives. Human commanders ordering their forces to pull back rather than risk civilian casualties. "We fought with mercy," Sarah continued. "We fought with restraint. We died with honor. And we never asked for your help because we knew we could bear this burden. We are humanity. We endure." The council members watched in stunned silence. Some were moved to tears by what they saw. Others looked ashamed that they hadn't known. Then Sarah's datapad chimed. Her face went pale as she read the message. She looked up at the council, and those nearest to her would later say they saw something change in her eyes. "I have just received word that the Wrecked have changed tactics. They monitored our transmissions to you. They interpreted our mercy as weakness. 40 minutes ago, they launched a full assault on New Harvest, one of our agricultural worlds. They are broadcasting the attack on all frequencies." She didn't want to show them, but she had to. The council needed to see, needed to understand. The hologram changed. The chamber filled with screams. 2 billion humans lived on New Harvest. It had been a peaceful world, full of farms and small towns. The wreck tore through it like a storm of teeth and claws. They didn't just kill. They made it slow. They made it public. They wanted the galaxy to watch. Many council members looked away. Some left the chamber. Others sat frozen in horror. The feed continued for 10 minutes before Sarah finally shut it off. By then, New Harvest was gone. Every person, every animal, every plant. Nothing remained but barren rock. They sent a message with the attack, Sarah said quietly. They called us weak. They called our mercy cowardice. They dared the council to intervene. They dared us to try to stop them. She looked around the chamber at the representatives of the Galactic Council. Some met her eyes. Many could not. I am requesting a 48-hour recess of this session, she said. Humanity needs to make some decisions. Important decisions. The Varani speaker nodded slowly. Granted, Ambassador. Please accept our deepest condolences for your loss. If there is anything the Council can do to help— There isn't, Sarah interrupted. Not anymore. This is now between us and them. She walked out of the chamber without another word. Behind her, the council erupted into debate and discussion. But Sarah Chun didn't hear any of it. She was already composing the message that would change everything. The message was simple, just 3 words long. But those 3 words would echo across human space within the hour. Those 3 words would make the galaxy understand what humans had been holding back for 30 years. Protocol Nightfall, authorized. In ships and stations across human territory, soldiers read the message. Some cried. Some prayed. Some simply closed their eyes and took a deep breath. They had all known this day might come. They had all trained for it. They had all hoped it would never be necessary. The rules of engagement that had governed human military action for 3 decades were suspended. The mercy protocols that had protected even their enemies were revoked. The carefully maintained restraint that had cost 347 million human lives was lifted. The Vrecht Swarm had wanted to see what humans were really capable of. They were about to find out. And the galaxy would watch it happen in real time, just as they had watched New Harvest fall. Mercy had been a choice. Restraint had been a choice. The Vrecht had just made humanity choose something else entirely. The first sign that something had changed came 12 hours after Ambassador Chen left the council chambers. The Vrecht were still celebrating their victory at New Harvest, broadcasting their triumph across every frequency they could access. They wanted the galaxy to see human weakness. They wanted fear to spread. They got their wish, but not the way they expected. Human ships began appearing in wrecked space. Not in the quarantine zones where the war had been fought for 30 years. Not at military outposts or supply stations. They materialized directly above wrecked hive worlds. The massive planets where billions of the creatures bred and grew. The wrecked defenders swarmed up to meet them, confident in their numbers. They had fought humans before. They knew human tactics. Humans would try to establish orbital superiority first. They would send down reconnaissance. They would attempt precision strikes on military targets. That was how civilized species fought wars. The human ships didn't slow down. They simply transited through the system at incredible speed, releasing weapons as they passed. The Vrecht barely had time to register what was happening before their entire world began to die. The weapons were things the Galactic Council had never seen before. Relativistic kill missiles that struck with the force of asteroids. Atmospheric igniters that set the very air on fire. Quantum bombs that didn't just destroy matter, but made it fundamentally unstable, causing chain reactions that spread for hundreds of kilometers. The first wrecked hive world died in 17 minutes. Every living thing on it simply ceased to exist. The planet itself became a tomb of glass and ash. The human fleet moved to the next system without pausing. A council observer ship had been monitoring the border regions, watching for wrecked movements. They recorded everything that happened. The captain, a Methodian named Kel, transmitted the footage back to the council with shaking hands. "They're not even fighting," he said in his report. "They're exterminating. They're not trying to win territory or capture resources. They're just making wrecked space cease to exist." The council convened again in emergency session. The chamber was full of shocked, frightened representatives. The holographic footage from the observer ship played on repeat. Nobody could look away. Ambassador Chun appeared on screen, transmitted from somewhere in human space. She didn't look tired or angry. She looked calm. That was somehow worse. "Ambassador," the Varani speaker began carefully, "we have seen reports of human military action in wrecked territory. The Council is deeply concerned about the scale of destruction. We understand your grief, but surely there must be limits to retaliation. Surely there must be some proportionality." Proportionality? Sarah's voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire chamber. "You want to talk about proportionality? They killed 2 billion civilians. They broadcast it for entertainment. They made sure the galaxy watched every second of it. But genocide, Ambassador. What you're doing is genocide." "Yes," Sarah agreed simply. "It is. For 30 years, we fought them with mercy. We took prisoners, even though they never surrendered. We followed rules they didn't understand. We died by the millions trying to protect not just ourselves, but you. All of you." She leaned forward, and her image filled the screens around the council chamber. "We kept this war secret because we knew what we would become if it went public. We knew that if the galaxy saw what the wrecked really were, if they saw what true existential threat looked like, we would have to respond with everything we had. Not with what was fair, not with what was proportional, with everything. But there must be another way," pleaded a Corthan representative. "Peace talks, negotiations, surely. The wrecked sent their first ceasefire request 6 hours ago," Sarah interrupted. "After 30 years of war, after 347 million dead, after they destroyed New Harvest. Now, suddenly, they want to talk. Now they want mercy. And will you grant it?" asked the speaker. Sarah's expression didn't change. No, they had 30 years to ask for mercy. They had countless opportunities to stop. They chose genocide. Now they get extinction. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species called for sanctions against humanity. Others demanded that the council take action to stop the human offensive. A few voices spoke quietly in support of the humans, pointing out that the wrecked had been given every chance. Through it all, Ambassador Chun's image remained on the screens, calm and terrible in its composure. A message came through from the wrecked collective, broadcast on open channels. They offered surrender. They offered territory, resources, reparations. They would submit to council jurisdiction. They would disarm. Anything. Everything. The human response was immediate. It was a data packet containing 30 years of documentation. Every wrecked atrocity, meticulously recorded. Every war crime, cataloged with timestamps and coordinates. Every violation of civilized warfare, preserved in perfect detail. Humanity had been keeping records the entire time. They had documented everything, knowing that someday they might need to justify what came next. The final message in the data packet was simple. You had 30 years to surrender with honor. You chose New Harvest instead. This is what you chose. 3 more wrecked hive worlds went dark that day. Then 4 more. Then 7. The human fleet moved through wrecked space like a plague, systematic and unstoppable. They didn't occupy territory. They didn't take prisoners. They simply erased the wrecked from existence, world by world, system by system. Some council species began quietly repositioning their defense fleets, moving them away from human borders. Not in hostility, in fear. The galaxy was learning a terrible lesson about humanity. Mercy had not been weakness. Mercy had been the most frightening thing about them, because it meant they were capable of this and chose not to use it until now. 3 weeks into Protocol Nightfall, the Wreck Collective was dying. They had started with 47 hive worlds. Now they had 12. The human fleet moved through space like ghosts, appearing without warning, deploying their terrible weapons, and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. The Galactic Council was meeting almost constantly now. Every species had an opinion about what humanity was doing. Most of those opinions were spoken in hushed, frightened voices. "They need to stop," insisted the Methodian delegate. "This has gone beyond retaliation. They're destroying an entire species. A species that would have destroyed them," countered the Caltham representative. "A species that broadcast the murder of 2 billion beings as a threat. What would you have done? Not this. Never this." Ambassador Chun attended fewer council sessions now. When she did appear, it was always virtually transmitted from wherever the human leadership was coordinating the war. Today, she appeared on screen while representatives from 17 species took turns condemning humanity's actions. When they finished, Sarah spoke. Her voice was tired now. The calm had cracked slightly, revealing the exhaustion beneath. "You want us to stop," she said. It wasn't a question. "You want us to show mercy to creatures that knew no mercy themselves. You want us to be better than they were, to prove we're still civilized." "Yes," said the variety speaker. "That is exactly what we want. What we need from you." "We were civilized," Sarah replied. "For 30 years, we were so civilized that we died for it. 347 million humans bled out in the dark, holding a line you never knew existed, fighting an enemy you never knew about, all while following rules of warfare that our enemy couldn't even comprehend." She pulled up footage on the shared screens. It showed human soldiers from the early days of the wrecked war. Young men and women crying as they evacuated alien civilians from doomed worlds. Medical personnel trying desperately to save wounded wrecked captives who didn't understand why their enemies would help them. Commanders ordering their ships to withdraw rather than risk civilian casualties, even when it meant abandoning strategic positions. "This is who we were," Sarah continued. "This is who we wanted to be. But mercy is not infinite. It has limits. And the Vrek found those limits when they destroyed New Harvest." "But where does it end?" asked the Corthan delegate. "You've destroyed 35 worlds. How many more before you're satisfied?" "All of them," Sarah answered simply. "Every single one. The Vrek Collective will cease to exist. This is not negotiable." The chamber fell silent. The quiet was broken by a transmission from a Vrek diplomatic envoy, something that had never existed before. The insectoid creature's translated words were desperate. "We surrender. Complete, unconditional surrender. We will accept any terms. We will go wherever you tell us. We will do whatever you demand. Please, please stop killing us." The council waited for Sarah's response. She closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, there was something broken behind them that hadn't been there before. "Ask the 2 billion dead of New Harvest what terms they would accept," she said quietly. "Ask the 347 million humans who died protecting a galaxy that didn't know they existed. Ask them, and I'll consider your surrender." "They cannot answer," the Vrek envoy said. "They are dead." "Exactly," Sarah replied. "You made them silent. You made sure they could never speak again, never forgive, never show the mercy you now beg for. You did that. You chose that. This is the consequence." Another message came through, this time from a group of council species offering to broker peace. They would help with negotiations. They would provide humanitarian aid to wrecked refugees. They would ensure fair treatment. Sarah's laugh was bitter. "Refugees? Find me a wrecked who understands the word mercy. Who comprehends the concept of restraint? Who knows what it means to choose not to kill when you have the power to do so? Find me that Vrecht, and I'll show them the exact same amount of mercy they showed to the children of New Harvest. The Methodian delegate stood. Ambassador Chun, with all respect, you are allowing grief to turn you into monsters. You are becoming what you fought against. No, Sarah said firmly. We are nothing like them. They killed for consumption, for expansion, for instinct. We are killing to ensure they never threaten anyone again. There is a difference, is there? The delegate pressed. From orbit, your weapons look the same as theirs. The dead cannot tell the difference. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it clearly. You're right. The dead can't tell the difference, but the living can. Every species in this galaxy will remember what happened here. They'll remember that humanity chose mercy for 30 years. They'll remember that we bled in silence to protect you all. And they'll remember what happened when someone mistook that mercy for weakness. She looked directly into the camera and threw it at the entire council. We are not monsters. Monsters don't make choices. Monsters don't agonize over what they've become. Monsters don't keep records of their own crimes and lose sleep over them. We are humans who were forced to choose between mercy and survival, between civilization and extinction. We chose survival. We chose extinction for them so that we and you could continue to exist. And when it's over? Asked the speaker. When the Vrecht are gone? What then? Then we go back to being civilized, Sarah said. We go back to following the rules. We go back to choosing mercy. But it will be different. It will be colder. It will be mercy given with eyes wide open, fully aware of what we're capable of if that mercy is thrown back in our faces. The transmission ended. Ambassador Chun's image vanished from the screens. The council chamber erupted into heated discussion, but no consensus was reached. No action was taken. They simply watched as humanity continued its systematic destruction of the Vrecht Collective. 4 more hive worlds died that day. Then 3 more the next day. The human fleet deployed its final weapons now. Hunter-killer drones controlled by advanced AI. These machines would pursue Vrecht signatures for generations if necessary, ensuring that no remnant of the collective could rebuild. The galaxy watched in real time, as an entire species was erased from existence. And they learned that humanity's greatest strength had never been their mercy. It had been their ability to choose mercy when they had every reason not to. The Vrecht had taken that choice away. This was the result. The end came quietly, which surprised everyone. The last 7 Vrecht hive worlds transmitted unconditional surrenders simultaneously. They opened every defense, broadcast their positions, and offered their total submission. There was no fight left in them. They simply waited for humanity's judgment. The human fleet stopped. The weapons went silent. For the first time in 3 weeks, Protocol Nightfall was suspended. But everyone knew it wasn't over yet. Ambassador Sarah Chun appeared before the Galactic Council in person for the first time since New Harvest. She looked older now, as if she had aged years in just weeks. The gray uniform she wore seemed heavier on her shoulders. The council chamber was packed. Every species wanted to see what would happen next. Would humanity complete the genocide? Would they accept the surrender? Could they find their way back to mercy? The Varani speaker addressed her formally. Ambassador Chun, the Vrecht Collective has surrendered unconditionally. They await humanity's decision. The council asks, what will you do? Sarah stood at the center of the chamber floor. She was silent for a long time, just looking at all the assembled representatives. When she finally spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the massive room. Before I answer, I need you all to understand something. Mercy is not a switch. It's not something you turn off and on. It's a choice you make every single day, every single moment, even when it costs you everything. She activated a holographic display. Images filled the air above the council. Human soldiers from throughout the 30-year war. Young faces, old faces, faces of every color and feature that humanity possessed. These people chose mercy. Every day for 30 years, they chose it. They chose it when wrecked forces tortured captured humans. They chose it when entire colonies were consumed. They chose it when following the rules of war meant watching their friends die. They chose mercy because they believed that civilization means being better than your worst enemy. The images changed, showing the same faces, but now they were memorial photos. Hundreds of thousands of faces. Millions of faces. 347 million humans died holding that line, making that choice. And then New Harvest happened. 2 billion more died because the wrecked saw our mercy and thought it was weakness. Because they believed that choosing not to exterminate them meant we couldn't. Sarah's voice hardened slightly. We proved them wrong. We showed them and you what humanity becomes when you take away our choice to be merciful. When you make mercy itself a fatal weakness. A Corthan representative stood. So what now, Ambassador? Will you finish what you started? Will you complete the extinction of the wrecked? That's what you're all wondering, isn't it? Sarah looked around the chamber. Will the humans show mercy now? Can they? Or have they become the monsters you fear? She was quiet for a moment, then smiled sadly. We accept the wrecked surrender. Total, unconditional, with terms. They will be relocated to designated worlds under human supervision. They will have no weapons, no fleet, no ability to threaten anyone. They will be monitored for generations. If they ever show signs of rebuilding their military capacity, Protocol Nightfall will return, and there will be no third chance. Relief swept through the chamber like a wave. But Sarah held up her hand. But understand this, every species in this council. Mercy is a choice we make. We made it for 30 years in secret. We made it again today. But it's a choice that can be unmade. The wreck tested us, and they learned what happens when humanity's mercy is pushed past its breaking point. She looked directly at the various representatives, meeting their eyes one by one. We are not your guardians. We are not your soldiers. We fought the wrecked alone because we chose to, because we could bear that burden. But if another threat rises, if another species decides to test whether human mercy is weakness, remember what you saw these past 3 weeks. Remember what we became when mercy was no longer an option. The chamber was completely silent. Sarah continued. We will return to following the rules of war. We will treat prisoners with dignity. We will protect civilians. We will be civilized again. But it will be different now. It will be mercy given with full knowledge of what we're capable of. Mercy with eyes open and weapons ready. The Varani speaker spoke carefully. Ambassador, the Council appreciates your decision. But many of us must ask, at what cost? What have you lost in these 3 weeks? Sarah closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. Everything that made it easy to choose mercy. Our innocence. Our belief that following the rules would be enough. Our faith that the galaxy would understand what we sacrificed for them. She paused. But we kept what matters most. Our ability to choose mercy at all, even after everything. That's what separates us from the wrecked. They couldn't choose mercy because they didn't understand it. We understand it perfectly. We just proved we can survive without it. She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at the council one final time. The wrecked will live. They will tell their descendants about what happened here. About the humans who showed them mercy for 30 years, and what happened when they threw that mercy away. Every species in this galaxy should remember that story. Remember that humanity chooses mercy, but that choice can be unmade. And pray to whatever gods you believe in that you never see what we become when that choice is taken from us." Ambassador Sarah Chun walked out of the council chamber. Behind her, debate erupted once more, but it was different now. It was quieter, more thoughtful. The galaxy had learned something profound about humanity. They were capable of incredible mercy and terrible violence, and the most frightening thing was their ability to choose between the two. In the months that followed, the Vrekt were relocated to 3 small worlds under human supervision. They were taught concepts their species had never known: surrender, mercy, restraint, choice. Young Vrekt attended schools where they learned that mercy was not weakness, but the highest form of strength. The ability to choose not to destroy when you had the power to do so. Sarah Chen never returned to the council. She retired to a small human colony far from Earth, far from politics and war. But she couldn't escape what she had become. She visited the memorial for New Harvest often, looking at the faces of 2 billion dead, wondering if what humanity had done was justice or just revenge dressed in civilized words. The galaxy moved on, but it moved more carefully now. Humanity had shown them that mercy was a gift, not a guarantee. That civilization was a choice that could be unmade. That the species most capable of kindness might also be the most dangerous when that kindness was betrayed. And somewhere in human space, Protocol Nightfall remained in the military databases, suspended but never deleted. A reminder that humanity had looked into the abyss, had become the thing they fought against, and had somehow found their way back. But the path was still there, clearly marked, should they ever need to walk it again. The Vrekt survivors made sure their children never forgot the lesson. Humanity had turned mercy off, and the galaxy had watched what happened next. It was a story that would be told for thousands of years, a warning and a promise. Humanity could be your greatest friend or your worst nightmare. The choice of which one you faced was entirely yours.